Hey, what's up everybody? This is Chris with Digital Rim, and in this video we're going to show you how to set up your own live stream. So let's just hop right into it. Essentially what you want to do is get OBS Studio or Streamlabs OBS. Either one. You can pick either one. It's like apples and oranges, so pick whichever one you prefer. We like OBS Studio, so we go with OBS. So obsproject.com is what we use, or where you want to go to get this. So go to obsproject.com and then pick whatever platform you are using. Download that and download it and put it on your computer. As you can see, it runs to YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So pretty much you'll be able to set it right up right out the gate. So and it's free. It's a free software, so you can have access to that. I'm gonna just leave this up here on the left side so you know what it's called. So when you download this, your actual interface will look something similar to this. This will be black. Where my mouse is going around, that will be black because it won't have what you're seeing there because I'm currently recording. So it'll be black for you. And you won't have any of this or any of this. This won't be here either. None of this content will be here, but the scene transition and the controls will be here. So we're just going to go over the whole interface of this whole of this software and how to use it. So essentially I'm going to go from A to Z. So scenes is essentially what you want to start, your starting point where you want to start. Your scenes being, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's a scene. Like you want to set up a scene, so each scene will be different. So if you have a scene that is just your full screen and it's just you, and then you might have another scene where it's your full screen and your desktop, so on and so forth. So really having two different scenes. You might have a different scene that's just you and a guest, whatever the case may be. So you can set up your scenes, right? So we're going to do that. How to set up a scene, you just go ahead and hit this plus button, and then we'll just do a sample scene 1, right? And this is more. So I actually have to hop right back into the screen because if you click on the actual scene that doesn't have any content in it while you're recording, it's going to go to that scene, which I'm recording right now. So it's kind of like a little trickery to this than my usual recording. So how to get around that? Let's say you're trying to prep a scene, right? You want to go to studio mode, and in studio mode you have this section where it allows you to prep your scene that you want to set up, and then have the scene that's currently running live. So this is running live over here. This is what you want to set up. So again, that's sample scene 1. Now it looks like this. And this is more what your scene, your initial scene when you download OBS will look like. It'll just be a black screen looking just like that. Also, you see that there's nothing here as far as the sources. So what are the sources, Chris? The sources being all of the content that you could pull into your actual scene. So your sources being your camera content that's you're bringing in, audio, your desktop, your desktop audio, your desktop visuals. You can bring all of these in as sources. So that's essentially where you want to add these sources to your scenes. So what we're going to do is go ahead and on our sample scene, make sure our sample scene is selected, and remember, you have to be in studio mode to prep your scene without your actual live scene going away. So don't make that mistake I just did where I jumped out of the scene on accident. Make sure you're in studio mode so you can prep your scene, and then when you're ready to transition to your next scene, you hit this transition button, but we'll get into that in a second. So on your sample scene 1, inside of your sample scene 1, we're going to click this plus button, which is add. And add, you can see you have audio, all these audio, you have browser, color, display capture, game capture, image, media sources, all this stuff. You can add so many different things. You can even add a scene inside of a scene. You can add groups or folders, you know what I'm saying? You can add multiple things inside of a scene and really get creative with this. You really can. But the main thing to start off with, you want to start off with your video capture device. So your video capture device being your camera or your webcam. So we're going to just put webcam. Webcam. Even though I already have it named, I'm just doing this so you can see. Boom. And just select the web camera, and then your webcam will show up just like it would, just like as if you're shooting from near. So this will show up live when you start the stream, right? So that's your web camera. So this is scene 1. let's do a duplicate scene. So if you want to, you can right click on the scene, on the actual scene, and hit duplicate. And we'll just call this scene 2. So take out that 1 and we'll just make this sample scene 2. And when you duplicate a scene, everything that was in that previous scene will be added to the next scene. So with that being said, what we want to do is go ahead and make sure we select the camera or select that layer. It doesn't really matter what it is. It could be a camera, it could be anything, but that's like a Photoshop layer. And we're just going to scale that down. You can scale that down by left clicking on the corner and just click and drag that down. We're going to add another source, and the other source being the display capture. Display capture being whatever is on whichever screen you want it to be from. So display capture, and we're going to do yeah, we're just going to leave it as display capture, and we're going to do it from this display. So boom, we run it from this display. Now you might notice it's way too big. Like these lines are showing that this layer is bigger than the actual display. So what we want to do is you can do this one of two ways. You can do it the long way where you try to click and drag it, or you can right click that layer and then go to transform, if I can find it, transform, and it got real small for some reason, but transform fit to screen. And then when you transform fit to screen, it'll pop right to the exact aspect ratio of the screen. So now you might be asking, like, where's the little video, like, for my webcam? You have to make sure you pay attention to the layer order. So you want the display to be under the webcam layer. So then when you put the webcam layer on top of it, now it will be on top of the actual display capture, or your screen, right? Boom. And in a nutshell, that's pretty much how you set that up. So really, you just want to get familiar with adding sources and then adding scenes. And then as you create scenes, you can get creative, really get creative. Another thing, if you have something in another scene, you can copy and paste. So you can Control C, or you can right click, copy, right, and you can paste it into the other scene. So you can paste it into another scene. It'll be the exact same. We don't necessarily need it in this scene. I just want to show that example that you can copy and paste from one scene to the other scene. So we're just going to stick to this scene, scene 1 and scene 2. Scene 1 being full screen, scene 2 being with the display. Boom. All right. So next part, when you do bring in a webcam or something like that has an audio, that has some form of audio input or audio input from that device, it's going to also populate with these with this audio mixer. And you can turn down the volume. You don't want it up here where it's very high and it goes into the red. You want it where the most time you talk, you're either touching mid yellow to but you don't want to go into the red. So just keep it around that area, right? And then it goes for everything. So your display audio, stuff like that, your display desktop audio being anything that's running on your desktop, it'll play that audio as well. And you can mute them off like this. So if you're not running anything on your desktop or you want to mute something, you can just hit the mute button on that. Boom. Next part is I actually accidentally transitioned out of the scene, so I'm going to transition back. I didn't mean to transition out of the scene. Did not mean to transition out of that scene. So what we want to do is I'm putting it back to what it would be default for you coming out of the box. So default out of the box, your transitions will be more like this. Transition to fade. Boom. Your transitions will be more like this. So when you're ready to transition from what we just created, well, when you're ready to transition to the new scene, so we want to transition from this scene to this scene 2. When we're ready to transition, we can actually, let's transition to scene 2 so you can still see. So we're going to transition from my regular scene to the scene, and you can tell because the side banner wouldn't be here, right? So boom, scene 2, we transition here, and now you'll be able to see live. This is the one you see live, and it automatically populates or flip-flops what we had before. So now what I want to do is just replace it with scene 1. So now we have scene 1 over here, scene 2 over here. And how to transition between the two is just hit that transition button. Boom. So pretty much we And you can probably tell in this scene 1, the audio went way up. So we're gonna take that audio back down. We didn't tweak that audio for for that scene. So scene 2's audio is way higher. Let's check our scene 1, scene 2. Let's transition to scene 1 real quick. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Let's transition to scene 2 real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, there we go. So essentially, when I created the new webcam, it changes the audio, or you have to reset the audio. Like I said before, I didn't set the audio because it was referencing the same camera, but my whole settings for that camera were totally different. I made a new camera, so that's why that audio changed, right? So with that being said, you can also, these scene transitions, there are also all these different options of how you can transition between scenes, which you can do. It really, let's just try to, like a Luma wipe. Let's see what that looks like, if it does it. Yeah, Luma wipe. So that's a Luma wipe. You can do that, right? Boom, Luma wipes. So you pretty much, you just do what, you know, do what you feel best, right? In that part. So this is the part here, the controls are the most important part as far as when you start and stop your stream and things like that. So to start your, it will say start your stream and you hit that, and then when you're ready to stop your stream, you hit it again to stop the stream. It'll say the same thing for recording. To start the recording, you hit that. To stop the recording, you hit it. Start a virtual camera. Starting a virtual camera means it's just like you having a webcam. So whatever you're streaming is going to act just like a webcam. So it can work as a virtual camera. Studio mode. Studio mode essentially allows you to do this. So you can go from the full screen mode, which really I tend to work with in most of the time. But before this purpose is, I want to be able to edit a scene or look at a scene and how it looks before I transition into the full, you know, into the recording or into the actual live. So being able to prep things here, maybe put some new images or whatever the case may be, being able to prep things here, and then when you're ready to transition, you transition out. How you do that? Boom. All right. So then the last thing you want to cover is settings. Settings, we're not going to get into this video, but one thing that I definitely urge you to do, definitely research what you want in your settings. How I render out my videos is definitely MP4. You can do it AVI, but I do MP4s to keep the, well, I do MP4 for multiple reasons. But again, I use MP4. You have the ability to render out up to like 4K or whatever at 60 frames per second. Again, it really all, I'm not even going to the settings because it really all depends on your machine. However your machine, whatever your machine can handle, that's what you can put out. The main thing you want to pay attention to, if you can even see it here, the main thing you want to pay attention to is this down here, the CPU usage, and make sure this stays in the green. So you see I'm at 30 frames per second, but the more memory I'm using, like say I'm trying to watch a movie and run, you know, watch YouTube and do all kinds of different and render at the same time, this CPU usage is going to go up, and then my frame rate is going to go down. So my frame rate might be at 10, and if my frame rate drops to 10, depending on the memory on my machine or how fast my machine is, then the actual live will look more like this, like it's not keeping up. And everybody knows about lag, so you don't want to lag. At the end of the day, you just don't really want to lag. So with that being said, pretty much that's in a nutshell how you get started with OBS Studio. I personally like OBS Studio myself, but there's other packages out there that you can get into, but OBS Studio is what I go with. So with that being said, again, I'm gonna give you a quick overview before we wrap this up, or before we hop into a full screen, right? So yeah, scene 1, this is how you set up your scenes. You hit add, you can create a new scene by hitting the add. You can delete a scene by hitting that, and you can, you know, move them up and down, or you could just click and drag and move them where you want them to move, right? But inside of a scene, this is where you have all your resources. So you hit the add button. It's very repetitive. You hit the add button, you can add multiple different types of resources to that scene. Definitely have fun with that. Get creative with that. Boom. There are settings, like you can do different settings, which you just go on to like whatever you have selected. It'll talk about those settings. where you can just hop right into it, or you can double click and get right into the settings as well. Boom. Again, there's a lot of different other things as far as the webcam that you can get into. I highly suggest you just, you know, really get familiar with this. This is just an introductory to how to get, basically how to get your webcam and your screen to show on the same recording or the same live. How to get that to show at the same time. So that's what we're covering here. Again, your audio, you can mute or you can turn it on. So you can have the ability to mute it and turn it on with the click of a button right below it. And you see the one that's moving, usually the webcam, that's what you want. But if you have like some desktop audio like Pandora playing in the background, you can turn this one on and then Pandora will play through your interface. No matter, even if you have it muted on your computer, it'll play through your interface. So with that being said, then you have your transitions. You can hit here, select your different transitions, and this is the time of your transition. So if you want your transition to fade to be longer, you can change that here. And then, you know, once you're ready to transition, you can hit that transition. And if you want to do a slow transition, like something like this, you can do that too. And that's really like changing your time. Like I'm doing it manually, but just think of like a DJ booth. You're changing your time or your transition. Boom. All right. So then again, back to the stop and start of the stream, the recording, and to get in and out of studio mode. And that's the most important part. I actually transitioned out of that scene, didn't I? Even though that was almost perfect timing. But I want y'all to see this one more time before I hop back into my actual outro scene. So my outro scene is actually built up of multiple things inside of my outro scene. So we're just going to hop right back into my outro scene. Boom. And there you have it. We're back in the outro scene. So with that being said, as the prompt says, go like this video, subscribe, do what you have to do. But more than anything, go to digitalrim.com and become a member of the community. Become a member of the community to get access to videos just like this to help you get your content out and help you grow your business and help you strive to be the best you can be. That's the most important thing to us right now. So really, we want all of our members to really be able to reach new heights and then pretty much what's the word I'm looking for? A case study or an example of what Digital Rim has to offer. So again, be an example of, oh, I went through Digital Rim, you know, I'm part of the Digital Rim community, and this is the type of stuff we create, this type of content that we produce. So again, that's what it really boils down to. I'm trying to create more creative minds and really just have some fun around here. Really have some fun with creating some content. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I hope y'all take care, and I hope you do that one thing that takes you closer to your goals today. And hey, do what you got to do. Later, y'all. Peace.